Hey, it's Midnight Raven, and today we're looking at part 3 in the Potsdam murder. This was the death of a 12-year-old boy called Garrett Phillips. He was at home, and supposedly someone broke into his house and murdered him, which is a terrible, terrible case. So today we're looking at part 3. This is a 4-part series for the Potsdam murder because there are so many details that you need to hear. So if you haven't seen the previous 2 videos, I implore you to go watch them before you watch this so you can get the entire picture. This is a case that really did touch my heart of a 12-year-old boy that was killed. From what I can gather is little to no reason. But you're going to hear all the details in this part of the case. More about the supposed killer and getting into the juicy stuff so that we can really get our teeth into this case. So, as I have just given you a tiny little recap, Garrett Phillips was found dead in his apartment, barely alive by police, but would later die. There have been many people involved in this case, and Oral Hillary is the prime suspect. He's an American Jamaican, and he was involved in an interracial relationship with Garrett's mother, Tandy. They had split due to differences because the children did not like being bullied because their mum was in an interracial relationship, and she decided to end it and go back with her ex, John Johnson. And here we are to the case. So another 2 years later, the trial began because Oral Hillary was arrested on second-degree murder charges with little to no evidence to prove that he was guilty, but he was facing 25 years in prison. So before the trial began, which would give more details about the day that Garrett Phillips was murdered, many people were convinced of Oral's guilt, but many people also believed that he was innocent, and this was a case that needed to be looked at more. Many people believed that Oral was the victim of racial prejudice and that he was innocent of the murder and was being scapegoated as the killer for being a black man in a mostly white community. So at the minute they are calling this a racial case. So Tandy, the mother of Garrett, had corrupted the investigation, and Oral was the victim of a personal vendetta of a scorned lover. The prosecution argued that an injury to Oral's right ankle could have been from him jumping from the window and landing on the pavement from the apartment. Oral claimed that he hadn't been at the apartment and that he had hurt his ankle the week before while moving furniture. Some people call this such a coincidence. Other people say that it's perfectly acceptable that he hurt himself elsewhere and has nothing at the minute to do with this case. So, nowadays, CCTV comes very much in handy, and this case is no exception. So the CCTV footage of the car park from Garrett's school showed that he began to walk the 5 blocks journey home after the basketball game. Now this was before Tandy and his brother left the basketball game. Garrett had gone home before his mother, so he had arrived at the apartment by himself. On the way home, apparently a blue car can be seen supposedly following Garrett, although neither the number plate or the car driver could be identified due to the CCTV. Oral had been at the school that day watching a football match, as he claims, and then hanging out with the football coach afterwards. Oral then claimed he had gone home over the match, but doubt came to light when it was revealed that Oral's daughter had texted him at 6:30 in the evening asking what was for dinner, proving that Oral hadn't been at home because Oral said he had spoken to his daughter in person around that time, which couldn't have been true because the text says that he wasn't home. So where was he? A parked courtroom in September 2016, a jury gave their verdict for the killer of Garrett Phillips. In the summary of the court case, the judge said that the case against Oral was based on mainly circumstantial evidence and that they didn't have no concrete evidence against Oral. They had no DNA, they had nothing to prove he'd been at the apartment, they had literally nothing to go on apart from a scorned lover and some grainy CCTV. The text from his daughter was obviously suspicious. So the jury agreed and acquitted Oral based on not enough evidence to find him guilty of murder. This would pend further investigation though, because although he couldn't be proved guilty, he also wasn't proved 100% innocent. An acquittal basically means that they presume Oral may be guilty, but they don't have enough evidence at this time to prove it. So you cannot hold somebody for having a hunch that maybe he did it. You need concrete evidence for a jury to give an actual verdict on a case. So Mary Rain, the district attorney, said that the police would start looking at other potential suspects as they had seemed to concentrate on Oral Hillary and not look for other suspects, which in a case is a very narrow way of looking at a case where you fixate on one person, because sometimes by fixating on one person you can actually miss the real killer who slips under the radar because you're so fixated on that one person who may or may not be the killer, and the actual killer slips through the cracks. It happens all over the world in multiple cases. So up until this part in the case, Oral is now found innocent. Tandy is a scorned lover. John Jones still remains a person of concern, although there is no evidence to suggest either of these men had anything to do with Garrett's murder. So if you want to see part 4, which is a part of the video which has got some new evidence. So if you want to hear the new evidence, you'll need to check out part 4, which will be on tomorrow. And this gives more details of what happened after Oral was found innocent. So if you want to see more of True Crime with Raven, I hope these videos are getting better. I am very nervous in camera when doing these cases because I want to do them justice and I don't know what to do with my hands, and I keep touching my hair. I'm sorry. But hopefully you enjoyed these cases. Let me know down below if there's a case you want me to research. I do have an entire list of ones I'm doing. And if you want to see the previous 2 videos in this case, I will link them because you're going to want to listen to all of this case because it is a really interesting case how an entire white community could scapegoat what supposedly right now was an innocent man in this case, and that he just happened to be, if you want to call it, in the wrong place at the wrong time. So if you want to see more of these, let me know down below. Give it a big thumbs up, support the channel by PayPal or Super Chat, or become a member for extra videos every week. And join me very soon for part 4 to find out the conclusion of this tragedy of a case. This is True Crime with Raisin, and I will see you very soon for another video. Take care and thanks for watching. Bye guys.